Shalom, everyone. Today we're talking about what is now a National Day of Remembrance for the tragic event of October 7, set according to the Hebrew date, as it often is in Israel. The Hebrew date October 7 took place was the day of Simchat Torah, which is Kafbet Betishrei, 22nd of Tishrei. Because the horrific attack happened on a holiday, the official memorial date was shifted to 2 days later. Every year starting this year, the Memorial Day for October 7 takes place starting the evening of Kaf Daled Betishrei, 24th of Tishrei, and continues to the next day, Kaf Hei Betishrei, 25th of Tishrei. If the 24th of Tishrei, Kaf Daled Betishrei, falls on a Saturday, the Memorial Day is moved to the following Sunday. This year, the memorial starts on the evening of October 26 and continues to the day of October 27. In this video, I'm going to teach you some of the most relevant vocabulary in Hebrew related to memorials, specifically memorials in Hebrew, and that of October 7, so that you can better understand and connect with Israeli content and conversations, especially around this important day. I will avoid triggering words to the best of my ability, but we will cover key terms that you will hear in Israel and in Hebrew media around this time. If you are new here, welcome. I am Inbal from Hebrew by Inbal, and I get English speakers to thrive in Hebrew. I teach daily and weekly Hebrew lessons on the most relevant vocabulary and more, just like in this video. And if you're wondering how to use all these words in sentences and conversations, that is exactly what I teach you in my program, Practically Speaking Hebrew. Inside my course, I teach you all the grammar, syntax, pronunciation, and patterns you need to speak Hebrew with clarity and confidence. Videos like this one help you build on that foundation by expanding your vocabulary on a regular basis. One of the unique features of my teaching is that I separate speaking and understanding from reading and writing. So if you want to speak and understand Hebrew, Practically Speaking Hebrew is the way to go. And if you want to read and write in Hebrew, Hebrew 1, 2, and 3 is all you need to complete all your reading and writing skills. It is my best-selling series, and you can order your copy on Amazon locally, worldwide. You will find links to both my course and Hebrew 1, 2, 3 series in the description box. All right, let's begin. Memorial Day or Remembrance Day is Yom Zikaron. Yom is the Hebrew word for day, and Zikaron is both the Hebrew word for memory, and when put together with words like day, forms the term Memorial Day or Remembrance Day. Yom Zikaron. Before October 7, we had in Israel, on top of the Memorial Day for the Holocaust, another Memorial Day that is referred to by Israelis as Yom HaZikaron, the Memorial Day or the Remembrance Day. Another name for it that is a bit longer and reveals the essence of this Memorial Day is Yom HaZikaron Lechalelei Tzahal, Remembrance Day or Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers of the IDF. And the formal name of this Memorial Day is even longer. Don't get overwhelmed. You don't have to master it. It is Yom HaZikaron Lechalelei מערכות ישראל ולחללי פעולות האיבה. I know, it's super long. It means Remembrance Day or Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers of the wars of Israel and the victims of actions of terrorism. So let's learn the elements of these terms. First, Tzahal is an abbreviation for Tzva Hagana L'Israel, Israeli Defense Forces. The sign you see there in the abbreviation called Girshaim, you don't need to know the name, is an indication that we have an abbreviation. And if you haven't watched my 3-part video teaching you all the signs we have, just like Girshaim, which will allow you to read anything in Hebrew once you know the letters in the Nikud vowel system, I will put a link right here to part 1. Make sure to watch it right after. Tzava is military or army. Hagana is the Hebrew word for protection or defense. And Israel, you know, it is Israel. Tzva Hagana L'Israel is Israeli Defense Forces. So we can see that the word tzava changes to tzva when we put it together in the unit, the term that is Tzva Hagana Le'Israel. This is a phenomenon that happens a lot in Hebrew. It is an entire topic, and because of that, I dive into it in my course. It basically shows you how to change specific words when they are put together with other words to create a unit, a term. Tzva changes to Tzva Hagana Le'Israel. When we take the first letters out of those three words, Tzadi, He, Lamed, we get Tzahal with the Girshaim sign, the abbreviation for the IDF. Halal is the Hebrew word for space, like outer space or just a space. But in this context, it is the Hebrew word for a fallen individual. In singular, halal. In plural, halalim. And when we put it next to other words, it changes to halalei. Halalei ma'archot Israel. The war that started on October 7 is called Charvot Barzel, iron swords. Cherev is sword, Charavot is swords, and when we put it together with iron, it is Charvot instead of Charvot. Happens again. Charvot Barzel. Barzel is iron. The war is called Charvot Barzel. War in Hebrew is Milchama, and when we put it together with iron swords to say iron swords war, we change the word milchama to milchemet. Milchemet, charvot, barzel is iron swords war. You're seeing how common this phenomena is, and it follows very specific rules. That is why we master it in my program. So the Memorial Day for those fallen in iron swords war would be in Hebrew Yom HaZikaron, the Memorial Day or the Remembrance Day, Lechalelei Milchemet, to the fallen in the war, Charvot Barzel, iron swords. Yom HaZikaron Lechalelei Milchemet Charvot Barzel. I know it's super long. You do not need to memorize it. And in general, if you could switch off learning mode, it will only help you. The idea here is to understand these words, not to memorize them. It will actually help you remember them. Trust me on that. So try to let your curiosity lead the way watching this video, not the need to memorize and know every word. Nifga is the Hebrew word for hurt or injured in its masculine form. Nifga is the singular form. Nifgeim is the plural form. So if we want to add those who were injured, we would say Yom HaZikaron Lechalelei Unifgeei, it changes, Milchemet Charvot Barzel. This year we had two Memorial Days for October 7. One on October 7, the Gregorian date, and now one on the Hebrew date. So how do you say all that in Hebrew? A Hebrew date, meaning a date according to the Hebrew calendar, is called Ta'arich Ivri. Ta'arich is date, a date on the calendar. Ta'arich, and Ivri comes from Ivrit, Hebrew. Ta'arich Ivri is a Hebrew date. A non-Hebrew date is Ta'arich Lo'azi. Lo'azi is a very common term referring to anything that's not Hebrew. It can also be a name. The word for name is Shem. So a non-Hebrew name would be Shem Lo'azi. A non-Hebrew date, Gregorian date, would be Ta'arich Lo'azi. And how do we say October 7 in Hebrew? To write it using numbers, we go from left to right, starting from the day following the month, just like this. And to say it, the proper way, according to the Academy of the Hebrew Language, is Shiv'a be'October. Shiv'a is 7 in its masculine form, be'October, 7 in October. But in Israel, people use other patterns for dates that are not considered the proper pattern according to the Academy of the Hebrew Language, but it is very common, so I want you to know it. For October 7, you will also hear in Hebrew Shvi'i be'October, using the pattern of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, etc. 7th of October, Shvi'i be'October, or Shvi'i le'October, using a le instead of a be, or Shiv'a le'October. But the proper way to say the date is Shiv'a be'October. Tekes is the Hebrew word for ceremony. Tekes. So Memorial Day ceremony would be Tekes Yom Zikaron or Tekes Yom HaZikaron, adding a definite article. Mourning is Evel. So a day of mourning would be Yom Evel. And we can add national for a national day of mourning. National is Leumi. It would be Yom Evel Leumi, National Day of Mourning. And finally, one that we use the English term is trauma. We just use the consonants and vowels we have in Hebrew. And so we say it trauma. Tra-u-ma. Trauma and not trauma. And we also say post-trauma. Again, using the sounds we have in Hebrew, we say post-trauma. Post-trauma. I hope you found this video helpful to connect with this important day. If you did, I would really appreciate if you could hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Check out my programs in the description box. And I'm wishing you a peaceful day. See you in the next video. נתראה בסרטון הבא.